Musclebox Radio, Season 2, Episode number 6. So today I am joined by Daniel Meek, who hasn't been on Season 2 yet.
I know, I feel very privileged to be asked.
Yeah, well, I have asked you before, but you're just too busy.
I'm always too busy,
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Especially for you.
I don't know what you're busy doing because you don't seem to be doing any work. But anyway, so just before we kick this podcast off, we're going to do this with a bit of a twist because actually on this episode, Daniel Meek is going to interview me. We thought we'd change it up, and so we're going to see if this is a better style. See what you guys prefer. So give us some feedback on it. But one thing we have got coming up on the 11th of September is our group coaching program. So Dan, where will they find group coaching? Our 6-week, 10-week and VIP fat loss solution program. Where do they need to go? Can you remember?
They can go to our website.
They can.
And they can click on the coaching tab.
They can.
There's a handy little link there that says group nutrition coaching or
No.
fat loss solution.
Fat loss solution. So you can click on the fat loss solution, read and watch the video that we've done. It won't take long, but basically just go down the bottom and sign up. So if you are thinking about working with us and you're not really sure whether we're any good or not, you want to trial us out, see how we compare to other people, or you just want to get a bit of a taster for online coaching, get in amongst it. It starts at £9.99 a week.
That's it, yeah. That's all it is.
£9.99.
Not even a Domino's.
No.
Literally, you could not buy a Domino's, have group coaching, and you're going to make better progress because you're not eating pizza, and you're going to get expert coaching. And
we can teach you how you can still eat Domino's and still get shredded.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's an absolute win. Because you can eat Domino's and still get shredded. But yeah, that's I do like. Oh, I fancy Domino's actually.
I was about to say I could do with a pizza
or
right now.
Pizza Hut, I'd probably prefer because you get the cheesy ball bites.
They're pretty good. The
on the
cheesy
edge.
ball bites are the best.
Yeah. So as you're probably well aware, this entire episode is going to be on pizza.
Mm-hmm. Pizza toppings, crusts,
fillings,
deep pan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sides.
Yeah.
Drinks.
And that's just for the post-show treat. That's all. That's what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna interview you because we realised that Steve does a lot of the interviewing, and actually he does have some knowledge, and people might want to hear about it.
Well, probably not.
I think people are just getting bored of the stupid questions he was asking. So we're gonna put him on the spot, ask him some questions, and
hit me up.
He's not seen any of the questions that I've got written down. They all should be self-explanatory for him. But then at the end, I might throw some curveballs in. Yeah. Just to be annoying.
But I will make sure we do our regular features of the show that we've got now.
Yeah, we'll do that at the end.
Yeah,
we'll do that at the end. Right. So we're going to talk about someone's first ever bodybuilding competition. So physique show, whatever you want to call it. Bikini, all those things. Now, it's becoming quite a popular sport, and it's one that when you first start can seem quite overwhelming, and you have lots of questions. So this one, hopefully, is going to be... Steve was just fighting around with something there, and just nearly ruined the whole podcast. Going to go over the questions that get asked by people when they're starting out. And a lot of questions sometimes we get even on consultation calls as well with people, even far before they've begun their journey.
Or I think as well, sometimes even the most basic stuff that we're probably going to cover today, even if you're a seasoned competitor, I've seen seasoned competitors make basic mistakes where they're just going to be, running the risk to drawing attention in the wrong way.
That's it. So, we're here. It's Mastermind. Stephen Box, your specialist subject is contest prep.
Yeah.
Here we go. One of the first questions people ask is, how do I know if I'm big enough?
How do you know if you're big enough? Well,
I'm never big enough.
You'll never be big enough, Dan.
I wasn't big enough for my bikini show that I entered, so I've got a long way to go. But a question we get asked, more so from guys than females.
Yeah.
How do I know if I'm big enough?
Oh, it's a good question because it really, and I'm going to hate to say it.
Don't say it depends.
Okay.
Come on, let's stop with it depends. Come up with a real answer here of how do you know if you are...
If you stand a chance.
Yeah. Not even stand a chance, but you want to go up there and you want to feel good, right?
Yeah, you want to stand a chance so you know that you should be there.
Yeah.
You don't want to look out of place.
Exactly.
So that's, for me, like, win, lose or draw, it doesn't matter. You just want to make sure you deserve to step on that stage.
Yeah.
And that you've, a lot of people think that, I'll just do a diet and I'll be ready. But in terms of a bodybuilding show, if we look at this, I can probably give a better answer. For me, there's 4 main areas that you're going to be judged on. One of them is how much size you have. One of them is symmetry. The other one is your shreds or condition. And the other one is stage presence, and with that, posing. So there's 4 big key areas there for me. And like, your symmetry is literally depending on your genetics, massively influenced by genetics, but also your training, your training experience, and also how you program your training and what you do and what you focus on. Because there are some guys that, unfortunately, they could have the best genetics in the world, but if they're constantly using their traps when they're trying to do a rear delt or a lateral fly, then they'll never bring up their delts and they'll always have massive traps. But anyway, so that's one of them. Condition is something that you're always in control of. You just need to give yourself long enough to do it in order to get there. And your stage presence can be practiced, and that comes with experience. You just get better at it the more you do it. Some people are just not particularly graceful, and that is difficult to teach someone to be more graceful if they're not. But yeah, size is for me the real tricky one. And the only way you're going to know if you have enough size is to actually get lean. Because, I'll often get, maybe not often, but I sometimes get trolled on my lack of size. Mainly by people like Tom Blackman or someone like that.
Yeah.
He'll just troll me because I've got no gains. But no, seriously, if I sometimes post a training video or something on my Facebook page, and I'll be talking about the proper execution of a dumbbell curl, which a lot of people get wrong, and I'm just trying to help people build bigger biceps, someone will go, "Oh, but you're not that big, mate." And really, they don't know how big they are because they have potentially a lot of body fat there. And it's extremely deceiving when you've got a lot of body fat, how big you think you are. Like, when I'm in off season, I think I'm like the Hulk. When I diet down, I'm probably like about as much gains as when I was 16.
It's such an interesting thing, because size is the one aspect of it that you actually start looking bigger the leaner you are. Like, you
with your shirt off,
you on stage, you look bigger than you do now.
Yeah.
Like, someone would say, "Oh, he looks massive, he looks ripped," and it's one of those where one of my clients just did a photo shoot, and he came in at 65 kilos.
Nice.
And you'd never guess it to look at him.
Yeah.
You would think he was a lot bigger than that, just because he got absolutely shredded.
Yeah. But that comes down to your shoulder to waist ratio, in down to that symmetry. And also your muscle maturity as well, like how actually dense your muscle mass is. And then also you start to look at like mind-muscle connection, to how well you can pose it. Like, I'm able to outpose someone that is bigger than me. So I can make up size because it's just an optical illusion, isn't it? That's what posing is. You are trying to display your best poses, where it shows you off in the best light. So you don't need to. What I'm basically getting at is you don't need to be the biggest guy on stage to win. You don't. But the best thing you can do is get lean enough to see, well, when you are lean, are you in proportion? Do you have any muscle groups that are massively lagging? Because if you do, when you step out onto a bodybuilding stage, you're essentially a top score, right? You're a perfect score before you walk out. All they see is your name, and for all they know, you're perfect. When you walk out there, then all of a sudden they're going to start comparing you against the person next to you, and you will drop marks on, if you've got no rear delts or no glutes or no hamstrings or whatever. So you just have to get extremely lean, maybe not contest prep lean, but pretty lean, I would say, to see where you're sort of stacking up. But if you are constantly in fear of it, then the best thing you can do is probably speak to someone, like me, or someone who's got, a lot of experience, and to be able to tell you, actually, you can do bodybuilding, but there is going to be a certain category and maybe federation you should start with, because then it's more appropriate.
So based on that then, in terms of proportions, I think that's obviously a huge thing, in that if someone, because size is relative. There are some people out there who are massive, but they'll never be right for bodybuilding because of their proportions, right? So in terms of your proportions, in terms of having bigger shoulders, bigger back, smaller waist, bigger quads, they're the things that can separate you sometimes. But based off the back of that then, the next question would be, well, what category should I go for? So what are the key considerations for categories if I'm looking to compete for the first time? What do I have to think about if there's all these different categories? Because some of them I don't even know what they are now.
Yeah, so the first thing is you got to look at the federation, because different federations will have different classes. Not all federations do the same classes. They like to have their own name or spin on it. In the first way to segregate those classes is literally whether you're natural or assisted. That's a very clear defining, point. And then you've also got, well, if you're assisted, you obviously can't compete in a natural federation, but if you are natural, you can still compete in an assisted federation, or should I say an untested federation. In some federations, sporadically test, others test at every show, in each of their own, and you just need to look on that federation's website, and you'll be able to see the testing procedures and all that kind of stuff. So, generally in an assisted show, people are going to be bigger. So that's one way of, knowing whereabouts you stack up. And then once you're on that website, if you are, again, just going back to your previous question about the size thing, once you are lean and you know what you look like, you can then start to look at your, self compared to previous lineups. If you're thinking about doing this for the first time, don't compare yourself to the person who won, because this is just ridiculous.
Yeah, because they've been doing it for years.
Yeah. So you're literally going up there and going, I need to pose like whoever, or I need to be as big as that person. No, you don't. Probably realistically compare yourself to the bottom half of placings and things, and see if you've got enough size. But okay, so when we start to look at federations, for me there's a few main ones really, and we'll start with the guys. You've got at the kind of lowest end in terms of size and condition, you've probably got Men's Physique along with Fitness Model. Men's Physique is the one where you see board shorts, and I'm speaking very generally. There are some massive physique guys out there, and there's some big fitness models out there. But anyway,
again, at the top end, right? And again, this is where
exactly
when you go at entry level.
Yeah, so I'm talking entry level. Yeah. Generally, what the judges are looking for is someone that has a handsome look, that they're marketable, and that they've got good symmetry, good proportions, a good level of condition, but not to the level of bodybuilding. Like, you don't need to have striated glutes necessarily to do well in a fitness model class or a physique class. You don't need to have veins all over your abs. I mean, I think it looks sick, but that's not really like a...
It's not what they go for.
They're ultimately looking for the next cover model of Men's Health or Men's Fitness, aren't they? Right. So that's just imagine that level of condition, maybe a little bit more, but anyway. And what they're really looking for in these classes, a Men's Physique, is you're looking for broad shoulders, nice and wide shoulders, and a very, very small waist. It is literally that very classic, triangle shape is what they're looking for. And again, with like grooming, make sure that you are groomed. Mm-hmm. Don't go on with a really scruffy beard or whatever it might be. If you have tattoos, you might want to think about covering some of them up if you can, if they're extremely distracting from your physique, because you only want to draw attention to yourself in the right way. Mm-hmm. And then in things like, because you've got board shorts on, obviously you want to make sure they're at the right height where you wear them, and you need to make sure you've got reasonable calves, because that's obviously the only part of your leg that's really going to be on show. You can see a bit of quad sweep, through the shorts and stuff. But anyway, and then you've on the other side, you've got fitness modeling. This is where you generally wear swim shorts or trunks, and you're going to need to have, some sort of quads, hamstrings and that kind of stuff. In the posing with both of these classes are much simpler as well. So it's a really good fundamental starting point, because you only need to essentially learn 4 poses. That's a front pose, a side pose, a back pose, and a side pose again. And you literally cycle through those. You can't really do any overhead poses. They're generally banned. Most of the posing has to be below the shoulders, and your hands are around either on your hips and it's not overly tensed either. You don't need to do a pose down to music like you do in some of the bodybuilding classes. So that's your 2 main ones there. You've then got muscle model and muscle physique, which are generally just, as it says, more muscular versions of those 2 classes. So again, for me, typically these are guys that have got a lot more experience, who've just got a much greater training age, and they just happen to get a little bit too big for the men's physique or the fitness model class, so they go up to the muscle model class. And then we start to blur the lines slightly, because it can be difficult to tell the difference. But then we start to go into things like bodybuild or smaller bodybuilding classes, like the under 70 kilos, the under 80 kilos. So some federations will categorize their classes based on height, others will base it on weight, and others will base it on like a ratio of the 2. So we've got, for example, like classic bodybuilding, where I compete at, that is a weight to ratio basis. So what they take your height in centimeters and give you an allowance. So with classic bodybuilding, what they're looking for is those really classic lines, like your Frank Zane, your Arnold Schwarzenegger type of we don't want massive overdeveloped quads. You just need to have good shaped quads, good hamstrings, good glutes, everything extremely well balanced in proportion, good abs, good level of condition, like greater than probably the men's physique stuff. And again, this is where we need to start to learn all of the bodybuilding poses, like front double bicep, back lat spread. And you need to, if you come in the top 6, you're going to have to do a performance to music. So again, it just requires that extra element of stage presence and experience. And then above and beyond that, you've then got the big boys, like the over hundreds and that kind of stuff. So where again, throughout all the bodybuilding classes, there'll be that requirement for condition, size, symmetry, and good posing routines, really.
So where would most people start, do you think? If you were to take someone now, contest prep, they had no real idea what they wanted, they had good everything, what would you do?
For me, it'd be a case of starting with men's physique, and simply because of the posing. Let them, make their mistakes there. Because it can be, incredibly overwhelming to have to learn, in bodybuilding, we're looking at the poses like, a front, side, back, side relaxed poses first, and then you go on to front double bicep, front lat spread, then side chest, side tricep, back lat spread, back double bicep. And there's just so many more that
you essentially have to do your own 1-minute routine.
Exactly. Combining all of those to music, on the beat of the music, pick an appropriate music for your, how you pose. Like, I can't pose to big, like, heavy rock music because I'm going to look like an idiot because I'm not that big. So I have to go for much more, like, softer music, which suits my posing style and all that sort of stuff. But men's physique's a great way to start. It really is. Or like a fitness model competition.
And the other thing as well that we've not touched on yet is, I think by doing that as well, it gives you a feel for how these events run. And it gives you an idea of, right, how do I need to prepare? Because there's less things to worry about. Less things to worry about in terms of your posing, in terms of your condition, all those sorts of things. So it gives you a real good idea of going, right, well, this is what I need to do to diet. This is what an event is like. And the more of them you go to, then you start getting more comfortable going, right, I know
what you need to take. Like with my clients now, I've got 2 competing this weekend, another one competing next weekend. I had clients competing, or 2 weeks ago, so I literally feel like all my clients are in peak week at the moment. But it's a case of, I tell them what they need to take to the hotel. So if they're staying over before, they're probably going to get their tan the day before. They need to take spare bed sheets, because otherwise you don't want to be flapping that you wake up in the morning on show day and you've just left your tan in the bed and you're now worried about the fine that you're going to get from the hotel. So simple things like that, just take all the stress out of it. Simple things like, I had to tell one of my clients off last year after I watched them on stage. She was chatting to someone on stage at the back.
Lindsay, call her out.
Lindsay, don't you dare do that this weekend.
When you're up for top 3, top 5 places, Lindsay, you don't want to be chatting away.
Don't just start chatting to the girl next to you. And again, Lindsay's she'd done more than one show and it was just busy, and someone probably started talking to her and she probably just felt polite to talk back. No. Ignore them.
Mind games, isn't it?
Ignore them.
It's all about the mind game.
Exactly. If you were, trying to talk to me and I'm on stage and I'm hitting my, my side chest pose, I'm hitting my side chest. I don't care what you think at that time. I'll just be like, yep, shut up. We're posing. Serious business up there.
And in terms of females, I suppose that the same applies in that you've got bikini would be the place you start, right?
Yeah. So and this is where the lines blur slightly between federations, and I might say something wrong here. So if I am wrong on anything, please message me, correct me, because I'd be interested to know, and then I can always clarify it on another podcast. But essentially, most competitions will go bikini to start with, and then you've got the new class that's coming into being quite popular is wellness. So girls with, more curves really, maybe a little bit more muscle mass, not quite as much, or maybe on par conditioning is bikini. And then you sort of go up to things like body fitness, where we're looking for a little bit more kind of muscle mass, a little bit more muscle tone, more condition, and, a real nice balanced symmetry between the upper body and the lower body in terms of both size and symmetry. And then you've also got then like athletic, which is kind of a body fitness tend to have a little bit more curves than someone in the athletic class. And with the athletic class, it's more of a harder look, in certain federations. And then you sort of go up to things like bodybuilding. And then, of course, there are throughout the whole thing, there's beginner shows, there's or like some federations in particular will have a beginner show. They have a masters as well, and then obviously they have the open and then qualifiers and stuff like that. And then you've got other federations as well, or competitions that I think the word federation is a bit loose, but because some aren't actually a federation, but they're more of just a competition.
Yeah.
And there might be like a theme round, and it's a bit of fun. It's a bit of just kind of
showing off your hard work, right?
Yeah.
A lot of them are. Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah. In like some of them are just taken a bit easier. The scoring criteria, like the posing might be a bit looser, so it doesn't matter if you're not nailing like the side pose perfectly. As long as you're presenting some nice poses, you probably get away with it. Do you know what I mean?
And in terms of the federations, there's probably some sort of, almost like in all sports, there's like divisions in terms of where the best athletes go, and there's other ones that are a bit more sort of like for the newbies, as it were, for those people. So there's always that way of looking at the federations or the competitions, and kind of when you first start out going, right, it doesn't matter if I go for one of the lower end ones, with the peak.
That's it. Like I certainly did that. I went for certain shows first as a warm up to the more important shows that I wanted to be a bit more serious at, and now last year and the year before I just competed with the UKBFF and then IFBB, so that was where I wanted to stay. I've always followed the likes of like Tom Platz and Arnold, and they all competed with the IFBB, and that's who I wanted to compete with. That's who got me into the sport, was looking at these pictures of like Frank Zane in magazines, and if he competes with the IFBB, I want to compete with the IFBB.
Yeah, it's what you want to aim for at the end, I guess. But in the meantime, it's one of those where, like you said, you don't just go and start playing for Man United straight away unless you're extremely, extremely talented and genetically gifted. It's a case of doing the rounds, doing the lower league work, as it were. Doing the lower competitions to get your confidence, and like I say, to learn the events and to make little mistakes because you're going to. And enjoy it.
And also, you want to feel empowered, right? You don't want to step on stage and all of a sudden you're up against a really, really incredibly hard lineup where you're going to feel extremely demotivated about that. So I kind of get it. On the flip side as well, you don't want to, if you are a very good competitor, then you want to be competing again, in my opinion anyway, and you can take that what you will, but there are some federations that I won't compete in. Not only am I, do I stay with the UKBFF, etc. But once I suppose you've got a bit of a proven record and stuff, you want to make sure the competition's fierce, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than knowing that, in any sport, you're going to win this. Like when I used to play volleyball or hockey, I used to hate playing against a lower league team because there's a lot of pressure on that you have to win, you should win, you're expected to win, the standard's not as good, you don't get as
enjoyable.
Exactly, you don't get as pushed as much, whereas I'd rather, and that's kind of why I made that move from fitness model to classic bodybuilding, was because, I had pretty decent success with fitness modelling. I'd won most of my shows for the previous years. And then I thought, actually, it's time for me to move on to something bigger where I really am being pushed and challenged. Because I want to, push myself in terms of my condition, in terms of my posing and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah.
So, one of the biggest questions.
Biggest?
Yeah, this is the standard, everyone says it.
Go on then.
How long do you need to diet for?
How long do you need to diet for? Well, it depends how fat you are, really.
I'm
just going to put it out bluntly, but
I always have the standard answer to this, and it's not. It depends. It's longer than you think.
Yeah.
Always with everyone, no matter how quick you think you can do it, how aggressive you think you can be. I guarantee you now that you've got more fat to lose than you think.
Yeah.
That's the common thing, right?
Normally it'll be like, do you know your previous? A question I always ask is, do you know your previous stage weight if they've competed before? If the answer is no, then it literally could take ages to find that. If someone knows their previous stage weight, I'll look at the pictures and go, how long did that take you before? Okay, well, let's double it because you can get in better condition. Yeah. I'll get you in better condition. Providing they stick to the program, obviously. There is that element, no matter how good you are as a coach, there is an element of, the athlete's got to put the work in. But, if you think you're going to need 12 weeks, just take 24. Realistically, if you've never competed before, give yourself at least 24 weeks to compete.
The longer the better, right?
Literally the longer the better. Because if you come in early, great, just do an earlier show. Or just put calories back up to maintenance and chill there. I've got that with for the last 3 weeks, my client's been in early. So I thought, well, what I'll do is, calories have been up. She's feeling great, and she's now a week out from her show, and she's feeling good, not feeling like death. She's not stressing that she's not going to be lean enough or holding water, because we can eradicate all those things just by bringing her calories back up. So actually, just give yourself ages, do an earlier show, or go back to maintenance.
I think that's one of the common mistakes that I see from a lot of people when they want to compete is they come to hire a coach, or they come to a coach and go, I've got a show, it's in 18 weeks. It should be, I want to start dieting, I want to start coaching, I'll do a show when I'm ready to do a show. Yeah. Because it could take 12 weeks, but it could take 30. Yeah. And you need to make that decision when you're close to the time, rather than trying to cram this huge calorie deficit you need into 12 weeks just because you want to do this one show because it's around the corner from your house. It's like, no, you should be thinking, if you want to get in the best condition possible,
think a year ahead.
Exactly, right? Yeah. And let your coach almost make that decision for you and go, right, let's go 8 weeks to now. Yeah. We're going to go. And, you'll know then that you're in you're in the right hands, and B, you'll know that you can do it and you can get into the right condition. And
I had this conversation with, someone inquired through our website about coaching for prep and thinking about doing a contest prep next year. And they asked the question, when do you think I should start coaching? And I said, let's have a chat as soon as we possibly can. Just because, and I laid out a list of reasons why. And one of those is making sure, depending on what they're currently looking like, if they've got enough mass, because I probably can see shape. So have they got enough muscle mass? Because that has to be built in the off season. Even the process of emailing us, and even with a quick response time from us that we try and get, and doing their week assessment, making sure that they're tracking their calories accurately so we can have a really good look at their diet and what they're doing, and then us designing their program, that's a couple of weeks. Maybe, obviously the assessment takes a week in itself, let alone then we've got to write the program, explain it to you, answer any questions. And you'll never, unless you are an absolute pro at flexible dieting or calculating and tracking macros, you're going to fuck up. Yeah. You are, because I do it. I forget things.
Yeah, even now.
And I've been tracking since the days pre MyFitnessPal, when I had a bloody spreadsheet and I only had the values I found in a book, so I could only eat the foods from the book because I didn't know the values for other food. I still make mistakes. And if I'm making mistakes, you are. Do you know what I mean? So, that's we want to try and get as accurate as we possibly can. You know me as a coach. I know you as an athlete. I know what you like, you dislike, how you work, what you feel, what your training performance is like in your off season, what your recovery is like. Because if I don't know all that, I'm going in blind as a coach, and I'm literally just making stuff up as I go week to week, hoping for the best. And it causes a lot of stress on me and also on you, because if a decision maybe wasn't quite right for you at that time, let's say we got training frequency wrong. If you told me, yeah, I'm a serious trainer, I've been training years, and I put you on a pretty intensive program because that's where I've gauged you've told me, but actually maybe your experience or training level isn't quite right for the program, then we're having to play with that, might have to redo it for you and all that sort of stuff during the prep program, when actually we should have been doing that in the off season.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is people sometimes forget that they can set up a great diet or a great prep by doing a really solid off season or even maintenance phase. Like, people forget that maintenance is actually a great place to be in terms of your own sanity and in terms of knowing and making mistakes and knowing that it's not really that much of a problem. Like, if you've got 8 weeks with a coach before you start a diet, you're not going to make any stupid mistakes. Then when you're dieting, you're going to be in a nice routine. You're going to know how your coach works. You're going to know that you don't need to stress or panic about anything. Yeah. You've got it all covered. Whereas if you put a lot of pressure on, it's really, really hard then to go, oh, you made a mistake. And then that mistake could be a 600 calorie mistake one day. Yeah. And if you're you're doing 2,000 calories of cardio and you're only eating 1,500 calories a day, you've got to make that up somehow in that week. Whereas if you do it in a maintenance phase and you're like, actually, it's a bit more chilled out, you go, right, learn from that mistake. Yeah. You can't do that again.
Exactly. In off season, you can navigate around social situations. I can make sure that when you eat out and we can practice this stuff, that you don't have anxiety when you go to Nando's or wherever you're going to eat. And it's really important to make sure you are a good, well-rounded athlete, both in mentally and physically, before you start prep, so that you are in a really good place. Because the people that are most successful are the ones that know what they're doing, rather than leaving things to chance. And if we I make sure that I've got an incredibly good relationship with my clients. They can literally tell me anything, and they know I don't judge them. And I'd much rather that, so that if a client does have an issue with something, maybe I'll call him out. Darren, he won't mind me calling him out on this. So I've got a client, Darren's competing soon, and he always says that you can call me out on the podcast, so I'm going to. The other week, he's been setting up his gym, extremely laboursome. He's dieting hard, and unfortunately, the calorie deficit just got the better of him. I think he ate 3 or 4 carb killer bars, 10 fiber 1 bars.
Nice.
Just because they were there, and he was that hungry, and and I just said to him, look, that's fine. Don't. And he sort of said to me on his update, I didn't know whether I should tell you. I thought about lying to you, and then all this stuff. And he goes, but I thought, what's the point? Because if I lie to you, then you can't help me. And anyway, so he came clean. We came up with a bit of a scenario with, okay, all I wanted him to do, because he massively overate on fibre. Yeah, you should seen his fibre intake for the day. Yeah. I
bet you felt great the day after.
No. So I spoke about my previous issues with mass protein bars before. Anyway, let's just say your guts aren't in the best place. No. Anyway, and I just said to him, look, we're going to have to ignore your weigh-ins for the next week, because your weight is going to be all over the place, and your toilet issues are all going to be over the place as well. But because he overate basically on fibre and protein, I didn't really care too much. So I just sort of said, right, let's navigate some of the extra fats off over the week. Because at the end of the day, we're on a timeline. We've got to make sure we're doing the work at the right rate. Sometimes you can wipe the slate clean and let it go. But ultimately, if you've got enough time, you're fine. But if the deadline was set because of the rate that we needed to go at, and we need to maintain that, luckily with Darren, he's looking pretty peeled, so he could get away with it slightly. But if you haven't given yourself that time, you're going to have to do that cardio or, limit your food. And then that might then lead to another issue. So it's really about, again, if I know you as an athlete, I can help you. If I don't, then it's really hard, because I don't know how you're going to take the advice or the best thing to do with you. I don't know if it's just a one-off or it's something that you regularly do, is have these big feeds. So that's just, honesty is so important with that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think it's one of the things that I've learned from dieting and from getting lean enough for shoots and shows and stuff is that it's a skill. And people forget that the more you perform a skill, the better you get at it.
Yeah.
So the first time that you prep, the first time you diet, it will be very, very hard.
Yeah.
And you will not probably be happy with maybe how lean you are. You won't be the leanest person on stage. And you'll be like, well, why? Because it's been so hard. I found it so difficult. It's been horrible. You
hear the and then your mum goes to you, but I think you should have won.
Yeah.
Well, of course your mum's going to say that. It's a job.
Yeah, your best mate's going to say it as well, as when he's there. It's all those little things, like you're going to get that. And I think the important thing to remember is that next time you do it,
it's going to be easier.
You'll be leaner to start with.
Hopefully.
With a bit of luck.
Unless you binged post-show.
Yeah, unless you've gone crazy. But in general, you should be leaner. You should hold some of that condition. You'll probably have more muscle mass and everything like that.
Yeah.
You'll know what to expect, which makes it a little bit easier. But the amount you can push yourself increases because you know, I've done this before. I've been to this point before. I can do that.
Yeah. And you want more. And it's like what I said to someone. So one of my clients, Dan, competed recently and he found it incredibly hard. Yeah. And the reason why he found it incredibly hard because he didn't know, every single week he was like, am I lean enough though? Am I going to be lean enough? Am I going to be lean enough? I'm like, Dan, you're peeled. Like, you're ready. I just want to, keep you in the oven a little bit longer and then we're going to reveal the masterpiece, right? Anyway, so the guy comes second at his first ever show. Like, absolutely smashes it. And I didn't tell him that I thought he was going to smash it because I didn't want him to be overly confident. I wanted him, and I didn't want to, put false hope in his head.
Yeah.
Not that it was false, obviously, because he came second. But
looked shredded.
Yeah, he looked sick. But he didn't enjoy the process because he was constantly worried about the end result. And it's like going to the gym for the first ever time, and you've got that exercise bench press, and you've just read it in a magazine, or I don't know. Think back to the last time or the first time you ever went to the gym.
Last week,
yeah, for you. And anyway, so you just think, think back the first time you ever did bench press. What's good? What's a good weight to lift for 10 reps?
Tell what's good on the first time you got a bench press. Don't crush yourself. That's good.
Yeah, exactly. But
turn up.
It's like, well, is just lifting the bar a good thing? For some people, it is.
Yeah.
Is lifting 60 kilos a good thing? Well, maybe, but you don't know until you do it. Yeah. You do the best job you can. And then next week you go back, you've got your target to aim for. But unfortunately with bodybuilding, you've got to wait a year to basically get that first bench press.
Yeah.
So it's really difficult to know where the end goal is. Because once you've done it, and Dan now goes, because he said to me, I don't think I'll ever do this again. Until post-show, he's like, I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to do a show in a couple of years' time. And I'll come back and stuff like that, and we'll do another one. I was like, cool. So anyway, he now knows that when he's doing, going through the dieting process, he can enjoy it because he can see it coming. You can see that end goal, because each week he'll see his condition change, and then when he gets there, he'll want to go more. Because that's that. We're all built. If you're listening to this podcast, or you like going to the gym, you are weird that you just like to push yourself. So naturally, it's going to be easy because you're just going to want more. We're humans, we always want more. We all want to level up.
Yeah.
You're just your own computer game person, basically. You just want to level up, be better,
100%,
get better guns.
That's it. And it's just that addiction, isn't it? I remember when I did my first shoot, and I remember saying to you, I was like, this has been hell, never again. And I look back now, and I was the biggest pussy in the world. What was I thinking? But again, if I hadn't have done that, and I hadn't then seen you compete, or I hadn't then done it again, I wouldn't have been able to look back and go, all right, I know why I found it difficult at the time. I can look back now and go, the reason I found it difficult was because of these reasons.
You were wet.
And then, and then when I have a client who's been like that, I can just go, well, look, I've been there.
Yeah.
I've done it. I know. I can help you through it because I remember that feeling. I know what it felt like.
Yeah.
This is what you're going through. That's exactly how I feel. And I'm like, right, well, next time you do it, you won't, because you'll have looked back and you go, well, look how good I looked in the pictures. I used to look back at my first ever pictures and go, yeah, I look good, but I know I can do so much better next time. Yeah. So it's one of those things where you constantly
I never had a first. Hard first time.
But you're weird. You can't. You're the genetic freak.
Yeah.
In that you find it at the upper end, you find it a little bit easier. Obviously, when you get to the lower end of body fat, it does affect you.
Yeah.
But I would argue from being around you a lot that it affects you differently to how it affects most other people.
Yeah.
I would argue.
Yeah.
You just go quiet and you just don't do anything.
Yeah.
Whereas most people get a little bit angry. They want the whole world to know that it's quite difficult.
Yeah. I never whinge about it.
No.
I'll just won't speak, or I'll just sleep a lot, or
I think that's because you want it so much that you don't whinge about it. Whereas for me, when I did my first shoot, I was whinging because I was like, oh, I just want to get this over and done with now. Whereas for you, it was always a case of, no, this is one thing I need to do to get in 20, 30 shows time where I need to be.
Yeah.
And I never had that at the start. But once I did it, I then saw that and I saw the process that you were going through. And I was like, okay, now I get why I just go quiet when you're hungry and just don't talk about it because it's not going to make anything any better.
Or, like when I'm walking, I just walk slower.
Yeah.
Real slow.
Zombie-like. Like The Walking Dead.
But yeah, I never had a first hard prep because I always had to be lean for modelling stuff. So, I think, but every time I have dieted, I've got to the same point and beyond, and it has been easier. Like I've been able to do it on lower macros.
Yeah.
Like I've been able to handle lower macros.
Yeah.
I've been able to handle lower macros for longer.
Yeah.
So I am getting better every single time.
And that's the thing with it is I don't care what anyone says, I do, but I would always argue that it is a skill as much as anything. Yes, there's genetics involved. Yes, you have to have the right look and all this sort of thing. But the more you do it, the better you get.
And also, I don't want to sound like negative here, but if we look at this from a physical point, right? The more body fat you have, the easier it is, because you still have available energy sources. Mm-hmm. They just happen to be in the form of body fat mass rather than food. Mm-hmm. So you could have two people that are on the same calorie deficit, so equally as hard, right? So let's say they're both the same weight or whatever, but one of them's got more body fat than the other, and the other person is dieting on, let's say they're on the same calories, or even you could have the leaner person on slightly more calories. The deficit is harder because they no longer have as much readily available body fat to give up.
100%.
And your body just resists you the entire time to get rid of it. Mm-hmm. And that's when you start to go through those moments of not even hunger, like once you get like if you're in a calorie deficit, you're going to be hungry. Like that's just the rule, right? So you can't get around that. It's more the brain function level.
Yeah, it's just the everyday life.
Yeah.
It's the hunger, for me, when I did it, was not a problem.
Yeah.
It's sitting on the sofa and not wanting to move.
Yeah.
To, like you've said before, pick up the controller.
Yeah.
Go to bed.
Yeah.
Brush your teeth.
Yeah.
Like, it's painful.
Get out of the car.
Yeah.
Getting out of the car was one of the worst things. And that's where someone with more body fat, because they've got available energy stores still in their body, will just get up and do it.
Yeah.
But when you don't have it, it's extremely physically hard. And that is something that you can only witness by getting there. Yeah. In every time. That's what I mean by every time I've gone further, that's what I've noticed more, is how physically hard it is on your body to get it done.
So there you go, guys. Beginner's Guide to Contest Prep. It's definitely something that, like you say, you need to plan for. Yeah. And make sure that you have a plan.
Yeah. You need planning.
Because that's what everyone needs, isn't it?
You need it.
So, what are we going on to now?
We've got a couple of questions, but we need to get training, don't we, Dan?
So and you've probably heard enough of our voices already.
Yeah. So special feature we have, Dan, is what is your favourite exercise at the moment?
Just being in the gym at the moment because I've not been doing that for a while. I mean, I tend to like most upper body exercises anyway.
Right.
And I tend to dislike legs, but I don't have like shit legs or anything. But I would say lat pull down, but I guess pretty boring. But I am doing arms every day at the moment, so I am actually getting more into training arms.
Dan's only training once a week.
Yeah. I'm training arms. That's all I'm doing when I go in there.
I'm training them every day.
Yeah, every day.
Dan, you're only training session. Once a day, once a week. Sorry, yeah.
So yeah, no, I mean, and I just you obviously tend to like exercises you're good at.
Yeah,
I think that's obvious.
I love bench.
Like glute ham raise, I just find it real easy, but I then hate leg pressing. So, but yeah, no, definitely lat pull downs, and I'm getting into my arms a bit more now, and they need to grow because I'm sick of having twigs for arms. So yeah,
nice
curl variations with the cable stack. I quite like, and more so than dumbbells at the moment.
Yeah, well, I've got a bicep blaster, so I'm going to be using that later.
Oh yeah, he loves that.
Yeah, the bicep blaster. Yeah. So I'm probably going to crack on with that. Right, Dan. Well, the other feature that we have is something silly that you've done in the past that you wouldn't do now. Something that you might have learned over time. Could be last week, could be 10 years ago. What was something nutrition or training wise that you used to do and think was good, but now you wouldn't do it?
Oh, good Lord. I mean, how long have you got?
You just need one thing.
Oh, I could pick so many. I used to avoid bread like the plague.
Yeah.
I used to avoid it like the plague, thinking that was what was making everyone fat.
Bread.
And it was...
What about toast?
Well, yeah, obviously.
Same thing.
Anything, mate. It was wheat, wasn't it? That's the thing. It was at the time. And I used to try and go gluten-free all the time.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love bread.
Yeah.
I eat bread all the time, every day.
But if you eat bread all the time because you love it, and then you take it out, and then you lose weight, you're going to think it's the bread.
Oh, no, I didn't lose weight when I went gluten-free. I replaced it with other stuff. Don't you worry. It was just, stupid.
You replaced it with gluten-free bread?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a fair shout.
One of the most stupid things I did was when I did my photo shoot prep was moan like a little bitch.
Yeah, you did.
That's one of the most stupid things.
I can remember, because obviously we were working together at the time, and you were recording your videos, and I was prepping you, and you were in all these videos that you put online. You're like, oh, it's so hard. I'm on 70 grams of fat. Oh my god.
Mate, I'm on 70 grams of fat now, and I'm on surplus.
And I was like, oh no. And I was like, Dan, you need to stop making this sound so hard because we're never going to get a client ever again. I was like, seriously, it's not that hard. You're making it harder than it needs to be.
I was being a big girl.
We have had a few listener questions, but we've covered them a couple of them already in this. But we've got some more. So if you have emailed me recently, we had one through the Facebook page as well. They're going to be quite long ones, I think, and we could do a whole podcast on one of them.
Just do a whole podcast just on the questions.
If you do have a question for the podcast, you can message us on Facebook. We are Teambox UK on Facebook.
We are.
So you can go and message us on there. You can email me at info@team-box.co.uk. Follow us. Follow Daniel Meek. He's on Instagram, Facebook, all the usuals as Daniel Teambox.
Dan Teambox.
Dan Teambox on Instagram. So you can follow him, follow his work. And if you want to work with us, then just head over to the website, www.team-box.co.uk. Look at the coaching page, look at what we offer, the services, the prices, how it all works, and then inquire. And if you're thinking about competing, even if it's just getting in touch and having a call with us, you get a no obligation free call when you do apply, and we can just chat you through some things and set you up for hopefully success in the future.
Yeah, and if you're thinking of competing next year, do something about it now.
Yeah. Now. Think about it now.
Right.
Action now.
Right now.
Anyway, we'd love a review, share with your network, and see you next week.
Well, until next time, I'll see you whenever.
Yeah, see you, Dan. Thanks for coming on, mate.